Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So if you're new to this channel, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. Okay, so in this presentation, we are going to look at biology paper 2 prediction section B, the essay part. So on this part here, take these questions to be serious, take them serious. I want you to celebrate when you go in an exam, okay? Like you are celebrating your birthday party while your friends are crying. So I don't want you to cry. That's the reason why I want you to go through these questions. So the topics which are likely to come in your paper. The first one is sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Now under that one, they are going to ask you to identify the parts of a typical flower. So in this part here, you are free to research or to watch my videos, okay? Apart from that one, they can ask you to describe the functions of various parts of a flower. Apart from that one, they are going to ask you to distinguish between two different types of pollination. For example, they can ask you to distinguish between wind and insect pollination. Apart from that one, they are going to ask you to describe the process of fertilization in flowers. Okay. Apart from that one, they are going to ask you to investigate, or you need to investigate ways in which seeds and dispersed. Okay. Apart from that one, you need to explain the adaptation of fruits and seeds to mode of dispersal. Then apart from that one, they can ask you to explain the importance of fruit and seed dispersal. So in this part here, these questions, take them serious. As for the first one here, it is coming from the reproduction in plants. Then the next one, which is a distinction between two different types of pollination, is coming from pollination. So in this part here, you need to know the definition for pollination and also to distinguish different types of pollination. For example, you need to know on how to distinguish between wind and insect pollination. Apart from that one, you need to describe the process of fertilization in plants. The process of fertilization in plants, you need to explain the process. So on this part here, if you want, you can even include the diagrams. This is section B. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. So now, as for the next one, the next topic which is likely to come in your paper, it is reproduction in animals. Now, under reproduction in animals, they are going to ask you questions from sexual reproduction in animals. So the first one, they can ask you to describe the processes of reproduction in a flock. So in this part here, you are free to include the diagram or the diagrams. Apart from that one, they can ask you to identify male and female reproductive organs in human beings. Okay. Apart from that one, they can ask you to explain the functions of the different organs of the human reproductive system. Then, apart from that one, they can also ask you to describe the biological changes associated with sexual development in human beings. So the first one I was saying, you need to describe the process of reproduction in a flock. So in this part here, you can even include the diagrams. Okay, there is no limitation here. I want you to celebrate. Okay, so you need to include the diagrams, that how the flock develops into an adult. Okay, apart from that one, you need to identify the male, or you need to identify male and female reproductive organs in human beings. Apart from that one, you need to explain the functions of the different organs of the human reproductive system. Then apart from that one, you need to describe the biological changes associated with sexual development in human beings. Then apart from that one, let's move on to the next one. Okay. Then the next one, under the same topic, you are required to describe the menstrual cycle. So the menstrual cycle, if they ask you to describe the menstrual cycle, they are asking you to describe the stages, okay? The stages of ovulation and menstruation, okay? Apart from that one, you need to know the laws of the hormones, like the follicle stimulating hormone, the luteinizing hormone, estrogen, and Progesterone, okay, progesterone, yeah, like that. Apart from that one, you need to explain the what? The processes of fertilization and implantation in human beings. Okay, so if they ask you that one, you need to explain the fusion, how the sperm fuse with the what? The ovum. And what follows next? The implantation. The zygote implant itself on the walls of the uterus until it develops into a what? An embryo. Apart from that one, you can say an embryo now develops into a what? Into a fetus, and the fetus develops into a what? A baby. Then apart from that one, you need to identify the causes of infertility in human beings. If they ask you to identify the infertility, let me say the causes of infertility in human beings, you can give them alcoholism, weak sperm, fibroids, blockage of the oviduct, even the ovulation disorder. Apart from that one, you can also mention STIs like HIV and AIDS. Those things, they can cause what? Infertility. Apart from that one, you are required to describe development of the embryo in the uterus. If they ask you that one, they are just referring to the functions of the amniotic fluid and also amnion. Apart from that one, the function of the what? The umbilical cord. The next one, they are going to ask you to describe health risks associated with the fetal development. If they ask you that one, you need to explain you need to give them poor nutrition, smoking, alcohol, and drugs or herbal medicine during what? Pregnancy. Apart from that one, you need to describe the healthy pregnancy and safe childbirth. Like for example, if a woman is pregnant, or is pregnant, yes, she need to give birth to the clinic or to the healthy facility. Apart from that one, if the woman is pregnant, she need to exercise, or she need to do some exercise, or during the pregnancy, the woman need to take what? Good nutrition. Okay, so the next one is saying, or the next topic, or the next sub-heading, you need to explain some methods of birth control. So under birth control, there are different methods of birth control. The first one, you can explain the mechanical, where you're supposed to use what? Condoms or intrauterine devices like the copper, the T copper. Apart from that one, give them the surgical or hormonal and the natural, which is the rhythmic, where you understand now your free time, where you are not supposed to, let's say like for example, you understand the time where you're not having the what? The ovulation. Okay, so apart from that one, you need to describe the benefits and the possible risks of using what? Contraceptives. So if they ask you to give them the benefits of contraceptive pills, the answers are on this part here. So the next one is the classification of what? Plants and animals. So this topic here, it is very, very important. In an exam, they can ask you to identify various types of plants. Okay, so what they mean if they ask you various types of plants, they mean you need to identify the chlorophytes. For example, the algae. Apart from that one, you need to identify also bryophytes. Let me say bryophytes. As for bryophytes, you need to give them moss. So these moss, they usually grows on around our houses. Okay, outside the houses. Apart from that one, you need to give them what? The fins. Okay. Apart from that one, coniferous what? Plants. Coniferous plants, they are following what? Bryophytes. Okay. apart from that one, you need to identify various types of what? Animals. If they ask you to identify various types of animals, they are asking you to give them the types of what? Mammals, like reptiles, amphibians, birds, arthropods, and protozoa. So in this part here, if you say reptile or reptiles, you give an example of a reptile. Apart from that one, you need to formulate a simple key for classification of what? Plants and animals. Like for example, if you talk of reptiles, if you talk of what? Reptiles. A crocodile is a reptile. A crocodile doesn't have what? Air around the what? Or all over the what? Even it doesn't have air on its what? Body. So which means that one, it is going to help to classify the crocodile as a reptile. Apart from that one, like insects, they have what? 3 legs. Let me say they have 3 pairs of what? Legs. That one is going to help you to identify. So the next one, you need to use a simple classification key to identify plants and the animals. So apart from that one, in an exam, or before I jump to the next one, if they ask you to use a simple classification key to identify plants and animals, they are just asking you to identify. If you say, let's say for example, if you say arthropods, is an arthropod an invertebrate or vertebrate? Or if you say a bird, is it an invertebrate or vertebrate? So as for vertebrates, these are animals that have what? Backbones. Invertebrates, these are animals that do not have what? Backbone. Okay, so as for a bird, is a vertebrate because it has a backbone. Okay, let's move on now to the next one. So the next one is the soil composition and fertility. So now on this part here, what you need to understand here is to know the composition of the soil composition, or to know the composition of soil. Like for example, the air, the microorganisms, and also soil particles. If they are closely packed together, or if they are far apart. Apart from that one, the humus. Okay. So the next one, you need to describe the types of soil and their properties. Like for example, you can talk of the clay soil and its property. Okay. Apart from that one, the loam soil and its property. Then the last one, you need to describe the what? The properties of the sand soils. The next one, you need to describe the factors that make soil fertile. Like for example, you can talk of air, organisms, moisture, mineral elements, and the organic matter. And the last one, you can also talk of the pH. Okay, so the next one, you need to investigate the causes of loss of fertility in soil. Like for example, burning, overgrazing, farming methods like stemene system. Okay, and also lynching, harvesting, those they can cause what? Loss of fertility in soil. Apart from that one, you need to explain the methods of improving and retaining soil fertility, like suitable pH, weeding, application of fertilizers, crop rotation, conservation, farming. Then the last one, you need to determine the distribution of earthworms in different types of soils. So in this part here, you are going to describe in terms of the types of soil, like the loam soil, the clay soil, and also the sand soil. Which one here should have more earthworms? And what should cause the distribution of what? Earthworms, like the acidity. So if the land is acidity, you're going to find that worms are not going to likely to found there. Okay. So alkalinity and also moisture or water. Apart from that one, also the plant or the plant's population. So that one, you need to know it. So the next one is they can ask you, or the next topic which is likely to come in your paper, it is ecosystem. Now under ecosystem, you need to describe features of an ecosystem. So if they ask you to describe the features of an ecosystem, they just mean to describe the what? non-living part of environment. For example, if you use a pond is an example of non-living part of environment. Apart from that one, you need to explain the effects of agriculture on an ecosystem. Apart from that one, you need to describe the effects of deforestation on soil stability and climate. Apart from that one, they can ask you a question or questions under pollution, where you are required to describe the undesirable effects of pollution. Apart from that one, you need also to determine measures to prevent what? Pollution. Then apart from that one, they can ask you questions from conservation. So now, under conservation, they can ask you to identify the importance of conserving plants and animals. Like for example, you can talk of for tourism, job creation, and so on. So the last one, you need to explain how to reuse, reduce, and recycle materials. So in this part here, you need to understand, okay? You need to give them an explanation on how you are going to reuse, reduce, and recycle materials. So the next topic which is likely to come in your paper, it is the vegetative reproduction. So now, under vegetative reproduction, they are going to ask you to describe different methods of natural propagation. Okay? So apart from that one, they can also ask you to investigate or to explain different methods of artificial propagation. To explain or describe different methods of artificial propagation. Then the next one, they can ask you to explain the advantages and disadvantages of vegetative propagation. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. So the next one, they can ask you, or the question which is likely to come from under section B, it is asexual reproduction. Now, under asexual reproduction, they are going to ask you to describe the different types of reproduction. Like, for example, the reproduction in fungi, reproduction in amoeba. So, amoeba undergoes what? Binary fission. And also, they can ask you to describe the reproduction in bacteria. Yes. Apart from that one, they are going to ask you to describe asexual reproduction in unicellular organisms. Like for example, examples of unicellular organisms. An example, it is amoeba, yeast, bacteria, and so on. Apart from that one, they can ask you to describe the sexual and asexual reproduction in fungus. So what they mean here is like this. When you talk of asexual reproduction in fungus, it is not going to involve the what? The fusion of gametes. Okay? But when you talk of sexual reproduction, you're going to find that there will be spore formation and zygospores. Okay? They refer to spores and zygospores. So when spores are formed, which means there is what? Asexual reproduction. Now, if a zygospore is formed, which means there is what? Sexual reproduction. Then apart from that one, they can ask you to explain the importance of fungus and bacteria. Okay? Yeah, they can ask you that one. So if they ask you to explain the importance of fungi and bacteria, they just mean to explain the uses of fungi. Like for example, in the manufacturing of medicines, food, and also alcohol production, and also food. If they ask you to explain the importance of bacteria, they are just asking you to explain the disease-causing effect like ringworm and bacillary dysentery. So you know what? The failing is not your portion. So take this one serious. Thanks for watching. See you next time.